The following production is presented by League InfoSite and the Credit Union Broadcast Experience, QTV.
Hello, I'm Sean Wolbert. Thank you for joining me at the CU Compliance Connection, brought to you by InfoSite. In December 2013, the Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council, or the FFIEC, issued guidance for the use of social media. This is something that we have long expected, as the use of social media by credit unions and financial service providers outpaced regulatory guidance. The FFIEC understands that credit unions use social media in a variety of ways, including marketing, providing incentives, facilitating applications for new accounts, inviting feedback from members, and engaging with existing and potential members. Since the form of member interaction tends to be both informal and dynamic and may occur in less secure environments, it presents unique challenges to credit unions. The FFIEC published the guidance to address the applicability of federal consumer protection and compliance laws, regulations, and policies to social media activities conducted by credit unions and other financial service providers. The FFIEC points out that the guidance does not impose any new requirements on financial institutions and credit unions, but is a guide to help financial institutions understand the applicability of existing requirements and supervisory expectations associated with the use of social media. Social media has many definitions and applications, but for the purpose of the FFIEC guidance, social media is a form of interactive online communication which users can generate and share content through text, images, audio, and/or video. Social media can take many forms, including, but not limited to, microblogging sites like Facebook, Google+, MySpace, and Twitter, photo and video sites like Flickr and YouTube, sites that engage professional networking like LinkedIn, and virtual worlds and social games like Farmville and Cityville. Social media can be distinguished from other online media because the communication tends to be more interactive. Messages sent via email or text messages that stand alone do not constitute social media for the requirements of this guidance, although communication forums, blogs, customer review websites, and bulletin boards may. The FFIEC guidance was issued to help credit unions identify potentially risk areas and to appropriately address and ensure that credit unions understand their responsibilities to oversee and control risks. The increased risks can include the risk of harm to consumers and members, compliance and legal risks, operational risks, and reputational risks. The increased risks credit unions face arise from many sources, including poor due diligence, oversight, or control of the social media process as a part of the credit union's operations. Credit unions should have a social media risk management program that allows it to identify, measure, monitor, and control the risks related to social media. The size and complexity of the risk management program, like all other programs, should match the complexity of the credit union and its use of social media. Even if the credit union does not engage in social media at all, it should still consider the potential for negative comments or complaints that may arise within the social media platforms that members may be involved in, and when appropriate, evaluate what, if any, action it will take to monitor for these comments and to respond to them. The credit union's risk management program should include a governance structure with clear roles and responsibilities, where the board of directors or senior management directs how using social media contributes to the strategic goals of the credit union. Establish controls and ongoing assessments of the risk in social media activities. Policies and procedures regarding the use and monitoring of social media and compliance with all applicable consumer protection laws and regulations. Additionally, policies and procedures should incorporate methodologies to address risks from online postings, edits, replies, and record retention. Risk management processes for selecting and managing third-party relationships in connection with social media. An employee training program that incorporates the credit union's policies and procedures for official work-related use of social media and potentially for other uses of social media, including defining impermissible activities for employees. An oversight process for monitoring information posted to proprietary social media sites, and those are the ones that are issued by the credit union and run by the credit union and administered by the credit union, or a contracted third party. Audit and compliance functions to ensure ongoing compliance and parameters for providing appropriate reporting to the credit union's board of directors or senior management that enable periodic evaluation of the effectiveness of the social media program and whether that program is achieving its stated objectives. When the credit union uses social media to market products and services and originate new accounts and loans, it's important to understand that compliance requirements from all federal and state regulations and laws apply to those activities. The credit union is expected to take steps to ensure that advertising account origination, lending activities, and document retention are performed in compliance with the applicable regulations. If the credit union uses social media to facilitate a consumer's use of payment systems, the credit union should keep in mind the laws, regulations, and industry rules regarding payments that may apply. No additional disclosure requirements are required and apply simply because the social media was involved. However, the credit union must follow all laws, regulations, guidance, and industry rules that apply to payment systems. It's important to note that the FFIEC guidance specifically addresses and outlines the Bank Secrecy Act requirements, including at a minimum implementing an effective member identification program, implementing risk-based member due diligence policies, procedures, and processes, understanding expected member activity, monitoring for unusual or suspicious transactions, and maintaining records of electronic funds transfers, and a system of internal controls to ensure ongoing compliance, independent testing of BSA and AML compliance, and a designated BSA compliance officer responsible for managing compliance and training for appropriate personnel. Now, that guidance is not any different than it has been in the past. They're just restating that these are the components of a BSA policy and process that the credit union must have in effect. But the FFIEC guidance states that these controls should apply to all members, products, and services, including members engaging in electronic banking or e-banking through the use of social media, and e-banking products and services offered in the context of social media. That's right, your BSA controls and monitoring need to take into account social media use. Credit unions should also be aware of emerging risk areas for BSA in the virtual world as fraudsters and illicit actors increasingly use internet games as a way to launder money. One of the most difficult aspects that credit unions are required to address as a part of the new guidance is reputation risk arising from negative public opinion. Activities that result in dissatisfied members and/or negative publicity could harm the reputation of the credit union, even if it has not violated any laws. Credit unions engaged in social media activities are expected to be sensitive and to properly manage the reputation risks that arise from social media activities. Reputation risk can arise in areas including fraud and brand identity, third-party vendor due diligence, privacy concerns, and member complaints and inquiries. Another facet of reputation risk that the credit union should be aware of and address is employees' communications via social media, which may be viewed by the public as reflecting the credit union's official policies and may reflect poorly on the credit union, depending on the form and content of the communication. Employee communications can also subject the credit union to compliance risks, operational risks, as well as reputation risk. Because of this, the guidance suggests that credit unions take steps to address these risks by establishing policies and training to address employee participation in social media outlets. An important aspect of risk management that must be addressed is operational risks and information technology vulnerabilities. Social media is one of several platforms vulnerable to account takeover and the distribution of malware. Credit unions should ensure the controls it implements to protect its systems and safeguard member information from malicious software adequately addresses social media use. The credit union's incident response protocol regarding security events, such as data breaches and account takeovers, should include social media as appropriate. The FFIEC guidance was published to help credit unions understand and manage the risks associated with the use of social media. Credit unions use social media as a tool to generate new business and provide a dynamic environment to interact with their members. As with any product or service offered to members, there are regulatory expectations to manage potential risks to the credit union and members by ensuring that risk management programs provide appropriate oversight and control to address the risks of social media use. Visit the FFIEC website at www.ffiec.gov for additional detailed information about a credit union's use, associated risks, and the requirements for using social media. Thank you for joining me at the CU Compliance Connection by InfoSight, only on Cube TV.
Thanks for watching the #1 compliance program for the credit union community. Stay tuned.